People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
All right, we're back. And man, I never would have thought after we wrapped up stuff last week with a comedian that we'd be interviewing a bounty hunter tonight.
I think it's awesome.
A bounty hunter, a second-degree black belt, a life coach. This girl, I told her she's like an onion. She's got all these layers. She said, oh, like Shrek? I said, oh, man. She figured out where I got my source for my thing at. But anyway, we got Wynn on our podcast tonight. We met Wynn while we were working with Penn and Teller while we were filming Fool Us. And she was on the production company. And one of the things that I was talking to my publicist about was anytime we do a television show, we worked in Carbonaro, we did Penn and Teller, whether we do local television or whatever, I get to know everybody. I talk to everybody, whether it be a PA or whether it be somebody with the production company. I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I really do. So
and Wynn is extremely easy to talk to and so incredibly nice. And
well, thank you.
So this is going to fly by. This is going to be awesome.
And Lana fell in love with her right away.
Goodness.
There was no warm-up period at all. My little girl, Lana, she loved Wynn right away.
Yeah. Normally
I loved her energy right off the bat as well. We clicked right off the bat, I feel.
Yes, because normally she can get up in front of a huge audience and be fine. But then one-on-one, she's like, I have to get to know them first. Not with Wynn. She was, Mommy, I got to tell her this, I got to tell her that. And it was like, that's
wonderful. That made me feel good. Yay. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Wynn, tell us a little about yourself here. There's so much. I don't even know where to start. I'll just let you start.
Yeah, I don't know where to start as well. My main background's always been in the martial arts. So I made that a career for a period of time. And during that time, I was able to teach so many people, touch so many people's lives. I taught students from as young as 3 years old to as old as 82 years old. It took me around the world. It allowed me to have the privilege and the honor to actually go to the Shaolin Temple in China, and to be able to have my second degree testing there in the temple grounds and have my ceremony witnessed by the head abbot of the Shaolin Temple. That it was just an experience like no other. Wow. And for people who aren't familiar with the martial arts, they would ask me, well, I can't relate to that. How can I relate to that? I said, well, imagine if, say, you're a practicing Catholic person, and you get an opportunity to go to the Vatican and meet the Pope himself. It's kind of like on that kind of level. So when I put it like that, people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so, wow, and then the questions come in after that. But in my martial arts career, it's allowed me to meet so many different people. And then once I moved on from it, you know what? Backtrack a little bit. During the time that I had my martial arts studio, I was able to meet a gentleman by the name of Stephen Webb. And he had a nonprofit foundation where he would go around and he would rescue exotic animals that, for one reason or another, people get and then they realize I can't handle them as they get older, or, those animals aren't considered domesticated animals to begin with.
Right.
So he had a nonprofit organization set up to where he would go around to the schools after school, and he also had a program to where the schools can bring the kids to his compound to visit all his animals, and he would teach them about the importance of how we contribute to the environment, how recycling plays a big difference on animal endangerment and preservation. So it was all around a great program. And I happened to meet him one day at an animal fair of all places, and he had a white tiger with him, and her name is Isis. And I said, hey, I run a martial arts studio. It would be really, really amazing if I could have a live tiger in the dojo for my students to actually see in person. Because how often do you get to see a white tiger in person up close?
Wow.
I don't know too many people that could say that. So we started talking, and he brought Isis to my studio, and my students were able to see the tiger, be up close were able to pet her. And then him and I just struck up a friendship, and I said, hey, what other animals do you have? Can I come visit? So he invited me to his compound, and he's got tigers, he's got lemurs, he's got Komodo dragons, he's got pinkajous. I mean, any exotic birds, snakes. He had a albino snake named Leo, and he was yellow and white, but he had these piercing red eyes, I remember. So we just started a friendship, and then one day he adopted a cougar, and I had just, I happened to be there that day to help him feed the animals, because I come over to do that sometimes. And I happened to be there that day. He goes, hey, I just picked up Caesar from the vet today. And I said, who's Caesar? He goes, come meet my new cougar. And he goes, we had to take him to the vet to have him defanged, because, we can't have these big cats with their fangs and then, have them in the programs that take them to the schools. And I was like, okay. So he says he's a little groggy. He's still coming out of his anesthesia, but I've got a group of students that are coming by here shortly, and they're going to tour the compound. I'm going to take them around and show them the different animals. Could you do me a huge favor and just hang out with Caesar and just make sure he doesn't get in anything he's not supposed to? I'm like, okay, I could do that. So I said, where is he? He goes, he's in my bedroom, on my bed. I'm like, oh, it's like that, huh? And he goes, well, hey, I just brought him home. These are all my kids, because he treats all his animals like they're his kids. And he goes, he's my big kid. He needs a little, TLC right now. So he's laying in bed. I'm like, all right. So I go in his room, and there's this cat this big cat laying in his bed, and he takes up about a little more than half of this king size bed. And I'm laying there, and I lay down with him. And Caesar rolls over, he looks at me, and he puts his paw on top of my chest like if he was hugging me. And then I laid there, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and then a couple times, the animals will test you. He opened up his mouth wide and tried to put it over my face, and I kind of gave him a light smack. I was like, hey, Caesar, I don't play that. So then he snapped back in, and he laid back down, and next thing you know, I guess I was tired. I fell asleep with this big cougar holding me and snuggling me like I'm the cuddle bear,
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And and then I woke up. Yeah, it was so comfortable. I fell asleep with him. I didn't have a care. I wasn't worried about him biting me or anything. It was just me and him. That's it. And I remember waking up, and I had to go use the bathroom, and it was across. And I got out of bed, and I moved his paw off, and he lifted his head up, and he looked at me, and he kind of like, where are you going? I'm like, relax. I got to go to the bathroom. He said, I'll be back. And as soon as I said, I'll be back, he kind of just laid back down on the bed like, okay, cool. And so, then I came back, and then we kind of bonded. We laid there, and I would talk to him. I was stroking his head. And then ever since that day, we had that moment, every time I went to Steve's compound, if Caesar saw me, and he knew that I saw him, and I didn't come out to give him his head rub and his neck rub and give him kisses, he would get upset. He would start. At first, if he sees me, he would stand up and he'll start pacing, and then he'll wait for me to make my way out to him if he's outside. And if I don't go out there, he'll start pacing, and then he'll start whistling for me. And then I'll be like, "Okay, Caesar, I hear you. I'll be right there, buddy." And if I still don't come out to him when he starts whistling, then he starts really pacing. Then he's like his whistles, and he'll start chuffing. I don't know if you're familiar, but big cats, they make a noise. They call it chuffing. It's not like a growl, but it's almost like a a kind of a growl. Yeah, so they call it chuffing, and he would start chuffing. So he wouldn't stop pacing and chuffing and whistling at me until I actually go out there and acknowledge him. So once I go out there and I acknowledge him, and I give him his attention and his love, he's like a big baby. He's like, okay, life is good. You can go back doing whatever you want. I got your attention. Cool. And I would feed this cat out of my hands. I remember we fed him chicken breasts, raw chicken breasts. So I would take the chicken breast, and I would dice it up, and I would put it all in the palm of my hand, and he would just eat it right out of my hand.
Wow.
And it is definitely... I couldn't even begin to explain the bond that I had with all the animals, but especially with Caesar, because we had that moment all together for ourselves for a few hours, and ever since then, our bond has just been magical. I can't even I would never think in my wildest dreams that I would be doing something like that ever.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Steve would around me. He's like, "Hey, your boyfriend's been missing. You want to come over and visit him?"
Did you
I'm
say,
like, "Yeah, I'll go visit Caesar."
Did you say where he came from? Where'd he get Caesar from?
I think, if I remember correctly, Caesar was a rescue cat as well. Somebody was trying to keep him as a pet, and he grew too fast, and they didn't have the proper knowledge, and they weren't equipped to keep a big cat like that in the house. Not to mention it wasn't legal. So, Steve acquired him and brought him back and raised him.
Oh, awesome. I was just curious because he seemed like, he was pretty tame from the get-go. So it's like, did somebody really try and have a cougar as a pet? And then, that amazes me that somebody would. I would never even try that. No.
Yeah, there's so many people out there. It's crazy, that what they think is cute in the beginning, because these animals in the beginning, they're small and they're cute and they look cuddly. But what people don't forget is they get bigger. Exactly. And as they get bigger, their temperaments will change. And if you're not familiar, you don't have the knowledge and the skill set to take care of them, they can be a big problem, not only for the people who are raising them, but for the animals. It's not safe for them. It's not in a good environment for the animals, because they need to be taken care of properly. And not a lot of people are equipped for it. You can't just put a bowl of food out and let them eat and then let them out and go do their business and call it a day. It takes a lot more than that to have to raise an animal, let alone an exotic animal that you can't just call up your buddy and go, "Hey, my dog did this today. Does your dog do that?" And like, what are you going to say? "Hey, my cougar did this today." You have to know what your cougar would do,
Right.
So you mentioned a Komodo dragon earlier. Did you work with them?
Yeah, he had all his animals were on his compound, and we would go through each different section where they all were. And at feeding time, we would prep all the food in the kitchen, and they all had their names, and all their food was set on the bowls. And then I would take turns, like, okay, I've got feeding duty for the kinkajous, or the lemur needs to be fed, or walking the snakes. One day he asked me, "Hey, you want to walk my snakes for me?" And I'm like, "What? What do you mean walk the snakes?" He goes, "I'm just going to put them all outside on the yard and the front lawn and let them just have their freedom and move around while I go back and clean everything." And I go, "So what do you mean walk the snake?" He goes, "Just make sure they don't leave the yard and go off in the street or go to the neighbors." I was like, "Oh, okay, so that's called walking the snake."
Wow.
Yeah, they keep crawling through the leash. I tried, but it didn't work.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, "What?"
No, I just heard that Komodo dragons have botulism in their bite, and that's how they kill animals.
Yeah, that's what I was told as well. Whenever I was around the Komodo dragon, he was always inside his big tank. It was like an oversized tank, like if you can imagine a big glass display cabinet that's really long, like about 6 feet long or so. That's what Steve had him inside, and so I actually was never around when whenever he had to take him out to clean his aquarium or anything, so I wasn't there for that. Yeah. I was around a lot for, like, the snakes, the tiger, the cougar, the lemur. I think the lemur's name was Samantha. She was very, very hyper, had a problem being around females. She liked being around males more than females, because I guess she wanted to assert her, her control and her authority. All the animals had their own temperaments. It was just amazing to be around, just to think that these are, God's creation, and who would have thought I would have ever had an opportunity to be that up close and up front with them like that. It was just, absolutely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I took that opportunity every chance that I was allowed to by him. And then years later on, he bought a compound in Florida, and then we lost touch from there. But not a day goes by that I don't think about it.
Well, see, Natalie and I ended up working on the television show, The Carbonaro Effect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was hired as an animal trainer and a magic consultant on the show. So we were working we had a white tiger, we had capuchin monkeys, we had lemurs, we had
there you go.
And we loved every second of it. And it's so funny that, a tiger or a lemur or these animals.
Right.
Each one really does have a different personality. And
different personality, different energy. Yeah.
Everything about them is different, and it's not like just a dog or a cat you'd see at a pet store.
Right.
I mean, they are like people, man. They're completely different. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. It's definitely, if anybody could experience it, it's definitely one of those experiences of a lifetime that you can't really replicate.
Right.
Yeah.
I even see my younger brother, in the Asian zodiac. He was born in the year of the tiger. So I remember one year, it was his birthday, and I went up to Steve. I go, hey, I know this might be a big ask, but I says her whiskers fall off all the time. And I said, it'd be cool if I could have one of her whiskers to give to my brother for his birthday. And he goes, go for it. Go ask her. She'll give you one. I'm like, I don't want to pluck it out of her. And then he goes, no, just go over there, go talk to her. I'm like, okay. So I went over to Ice, and I'm like, hey, girl, it's my brother's birthday coming up, and it'd be really cool if I could have one of your whiskers. He's like, I could give it to him. Promise you, it's going to be in safe hands. And I was stroking her, and then kind of took one of her whiskers and just kind of pulled it off, and then she just looked at me and licked my hand, and that was it.
Aww.
Wow.
Yeah, and I gave it to my brother. I said, you can't go anywhere and buy this. I took this off of an actual tiger. This is a real whisker. And I gave it to him. And, I asked him years later, because it's been many, many, many years ago, and he goes, I honestly don't remember what I did with it. I'm like, oh, dude, I can't exactly go and buy it again, man.
Right?
You don't know what I had to go through to get that thing. I could have lost it all.
Yeah.
Goodness. Aw.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about your second degree black belt, what was the style of martial art? I was trying to tell Natalie, but I couldn't remember.
Well, the style of martial arts that I practice is called Shaolin Kempo, and it's really a blend of both a Chinese art form and a karate art form. And there's many forms of martial arts out there. And then a lot of us can trace our lineage in one way or another back to a certain root. The Shaolin Temple, thousands and thousands of years ago, spread. They had their monks that traveled, whether it be traveling to spread Buddhism or traveling for whatever reason or not. But these monks were also warrior monks. So, these monks traveled to different parts of the world and at the same time spreading the martial arts and training. So, make a long story short, come down to where our system is. There's a gentleman by the name of William Chow, and he was basically a Shaolin practitioner, a Chinese martial arts practitioner. He trained a Japanese gentleman by the name of James Matoshi. And so that in modern day is where we can trace back to where it kind of, that's where the union kind of happened. But there's other factors and other martial arts systems out there that are similar, if not almost the same as well. It's just depending on who we're able to trace our lineage back to which monk master or which master it was that, that the information was received from. But the system that I am in is called Shaolin Kempo. It is a blend of both Japanese martial arts and Chinese. In the beginning, for the average student, it's all Japanese. It's all basic stances, punches. It's basically the laying of the foundation, the basics. As you progress through higher into the rank, and especially when you get to the black belt rank, it does change and it goes into more of the Chinese facet and more of the Shaolin side. And so I've had the privilege to be able to go with our martial arts company and all of our students and other fellow instructors to go back to China and test there and actually train there for about a week.
Wow.
And that was definitely quite an experience to be around. It was amazing. I mean, it was just, for someone who grew up watching martial arts and watching all the old classics that are dubbed, you know which ones I'm talking about. The terrible filming from the 70s and 80s, and they're speaking and their mouth is still moving, but there's no words or vice versa. Those type of movies. So yeah, to be able to go to China and to be at the temple, just to be on the actual temple ground where, generations and generations of monks have trained and lived and go about their daily life. It was just an amazing experience. I couldn't even begin to describe how it felt. I remember the night that we rolled into, because the Shaolin Temple sits in Hunan province, which is in an outer. It's not in the city. It's out in the outlying villages and whatnot. So we had to fly, and then once we flew into the area, it's called Dengfeng or Dengfeng for most people. That's how they recognize it. Then we had to take a bus ride to the hotel. Once we got to the hotel, once we got settled in, it was pretty much, we got woken up in the middle of the night. I remember I heard a loud pounding on my door like at 3:30 in the morning, and I was told, get your uniform, get your gear, get your belt on, meet downstairs. So we were all lined up downstairs in this hotel, and we took up their whole entire front parking lot area. And then I remember our headmaster going, how does it feel to be only a few miles away from the birthplace of martial arts? You are here now, and you will be there tomorrow on the temple grounds. And when he said that, how does it feel to be only a few miles away now from the actual birthplace of the martial arts? The hairs on the back of my neck and my body, everything just stood up to attention. I could just feel that electric energy. And it was, again, like I said, I just couldn't even begin to describe it. It's just one of those things where you just have to be there to experience it.
It had to just make it more special, more meaningful all the way around.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Did your brother get into it as well?
My brother did. We got my brother involved in the system, but I didn't teach him because I kind of I wasn't sure. I was hesitant about family teaching family.
Uh-huh.
So I had him trained under another instructor that was still part of our system and in our company as well. And my brother didn't make it to black belt. I think he got to brown belt, which he was dang near close. But I felt, okay, dude, you got to brown belt. You got enough basics to take care of yourself, at least.
Right.
So
yeah.
That was that. But I was always the martial arts buff in the family. It was just me,
And you
it's
went,
funny.
And your test for your second degree was there in?
It was in the Shaolin Temple grounds itself.
Wow.
My test actually was several days. It wasn't just a day.
Oh, really?
It was several days. And I remember when we first got to the Shaolin Temple, we were just in the front of it, where it's the area, the courtyard we were at, it's open to the public where people can go see. But we were all there, and we were all standing there. And I remember it was raining, and we were all lined up in formation. And I think we were out there for a good hour or two just in the rain.
Wow.
Just standing there at attention. And it was, again, it was quite a feeling, quite an experience just to be there. And just standing there, I remember standing there looking around my surroundings and looking at the sign, and telling myself, I'm here. This is it. These are, all the images that I see on TV or the documentaries or in the books. I'm like, I'm here,
That's awesome.
Grounds. And it was, it was definitely one for the books, for sure.
What is the YouTube clip you told me about?
Well, several years back, I had some guys reach out to me, and they said, hey, we read your article in Vice, because I was interviewed by Vice Media.
Wow.
Yes,
Thank
and
God.
they did an article on me as a female bounty hunter. And there's not a lot of female bounty hunters out there, let alone an Asian female bounty hunter. So I was one of the first here in the state of Nevada. I think I still am the only Asian female bounty hunter, but I also was one of the very few that was actively bounty hunting, actively working. A lot of the females in the industry, they get into the bail industry for one reason or not, but most oftentimes it's because their spouse or boyfriend either are in the bail business or own a bail business or whatnot, so they're involved that way. But I think I'm one of the rare ones that actually was like, okay, I want to do this, so let's figure out how to make this happen. And, I just kind of dove right into it and just immersed myself in it. But these guys called me up and said, hey, I read your Vice article. Would love to shadow you around for a couple of days to see what it's like to be a bounty hunter. And I said, sure. And then we made an appointment, a time and date set, and they came in from California. And they followed me around for like 3 or 4 days. And they put a clip out. And they put with all the material that they did film with me, they were able to put out a short video on YouTube.
And what do I do? What do I search to get that?
To search it, you just go on YouTube, you type in my name. My name is Uyen. It's spelled Uyen. Last name Vu, V like Victor, U like uniform. Put bounty hunter. And it usually pop up. And they were at the time independent producers for Mode Media, MODE, Mode Media.
And so, did you find anybody while they were there? Bounty hunting?
We didn't find anybody that day that they followed me around, or those few days. But the gentleman that I was looking for, the case I was working on, it was funny because they told me, hey, if you end up finding this guy, let us know. And sure enough, I think about a week later, I was able to find the guy and apprehend him and remand him back into the detention center.
Nice.
So I never watched Dog Bounty Hunter. I think I may have seen 2 episodes 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Are you putting cuffs on people and dragging them in?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Let me tell you, as a bounty hunter, when I started out, I started doing some ride-along with some people. But once I was fully licensed for myself, I ended up going off on my own and going to go get work myself and getting clients myself. And so most of the time, it would be just me from beginning to end. I would get a case file. I would work the file. I would do my research. I would do my surveillance. I would be the one knocking on the door, doing the apprehension, the arrest, and the surrender at the detention facility. I would say 90% of my cases were closed by myself.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Whenever I needed backup, I did have people that I could call for backup. At one point, I had a partner. We taught the bail enforcement training program together at the College of Southern Nevada, and that was the training class that was required and mandated by the state of Nevada. If you wanted to be licensed, you had to go through that 80-hour training course. And he was the main instructor. I was the assistant instructor. He did all the lectures and everything, and I was in charge of the handcuffing certification, the hand-to-hand combat certification, the firearm safety certification, which, ironically, it's funny because when we used to introduce ourselves to the classes every time we had a new group go through. Everyone always stereotypically assumed that my partner was the instructor doing the physical stuff and I was doing the lecture. And we got them every time, because my partner back then, he looks like that wrestler, Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Uh-huh.
He kind of looked like him, and bald head and, goatee, mustache, the whole deal. So everyone always assumed he was the one doing the cool stuff, but it was always me. So I always got a kick out of that.
That's awesome.
When I just looked it up on my iPad while we're videotaping this, and I got you beating the heck out of some skinny white dude in the thing, putting the gun together. This video is awesome. So what it came up was I'm a bounty hunter, mylifeglam.com, but it has Mode in the bottom corner.
Mode Media changed to Glam, I think. I think they did at one point changed over and they became Glam Media.
Okay.
This is awesome. This is so cool. Everybody, all the comments are just like, that's a bad woman right there. You are awesome, girl. This is so awesome.
So they have,
my experience as a bounty hunter took me all over the country. I flew all over the country to do apprehensions and arrests, and I would fly back with them on the plane drive back with them. And everyone always asks me, like, aren't you scared? I go, if I approached as being scared all the time, I wouldn't be able to do my job. So I didn't think of it as a scary thing. But, now looking back that I'm older, I was like, wow, it took a lot of gumption and a lot of oomph to go out there and do that. But it wasn't, I looked at it like it was fun, it was challenging, and every time I was able to close a case, it was such a satisfactory feeling and a sense of accomplishment, especially doing it by myself, that I just kept at it, I've taught, and the difference between me, what separates me from a lot of other bounty hunters out there, I think, is, number one, I'm a female. So most of the time when I'm knocking on your door, you don't think I'm the one that's coming for you. And I use it to my advantage. I tell them, hey, sometimes I tell them, hey, I'm the girl from the office. They're sending me down here to refill some new paperwork. I just need you to refill it. Or oftentimes I think really is my ability to be able to speak to people and put them at ease, I think is what made my success rate so high. I've talked people into hopping on a plane by themselves without me being there. I told them, if I send you a plane ticket and I pay for it and I don't need you to pay me back for it, would you be willing to get on that plane and come back here and let's fix this and make it looking over your shoulder or wondering, who's parked down the street and knowing that you have this warrant hanging over your head.
Right.
And I was able to do that successfully to get them to come back, and I said, I'll treat you with respect if you treat me with respect. That's just how it goes.
Nice. So you said you flew all over the country. Did all of them start out where they were in Vegas and they just left and you had to track them down, or?
No, some of them started in Vegas. Some of them lived elsewhere, came to Vegas, party too hard or whatever. You know that old slogan, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Yeah.
Well, I use that line on people when I find them. I go, see, what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas. See, you did something, and now you got to come back and make it right.
Right.
I had people from all over. I remember there was one guy I had to go find. He was actually one of the script writers for The Sopranos.
Oh.
And I found him in a rehab center. I'll tell you an interesting one. I had one case, and the female, she was in Reno. She went into warrant in Reno because at one point I actually was able to. I landed, I would want to say, like a dream job as a bounty hunter. I was hired by a surety company, and the surety company is the company that provides basically like the insurance to the bail bond offices, They back them up. It's like if you write a bond, let's say someone goes to jail, and they need to get bonded out. Well, the court sets the fee for each charge. Every charge is different. Every bond is priced differently. But let's just use a hypothetical one. Let's say you go to jail for domestic violence, and the bond's $3,000, and people are wondering, well, how do I go about that? Well, if you're in a state, because there's 5 states in the country that doesn't have private bond, which means New York's one of them, for an example. If you get trouble in New York and you go to jail, you have to bond through the state, which means you have to come up with that whole $3,000 or you're stuck in jail to your court date. Okay. But for other states that have bond, what you do is you pay a percentage of that bond amount that's set by the court. And every state's fees are different. Like, for example, in California, it's a 15% rate. In Nevada, it's 10%. So in Nevada, if you went to jail and your bond was set at $3,000, you'd have to come up with that 10% down in order to get out of jail.
Oh, okay.
And then what happens is, if you go to jail and you go to all your court appearances and you go through all your motions and your case gets closed, then once the case is closed and the court sends the bail office the paperwork saying that case closed, everything's done, then that person will be released from the bail bond's responsibility. But if they don't, and they get a notice from the judge going, hey, failure to appear, your guy or girl didn't appear in court, now you have 180 days to either produce the body or produce the check, is what they call it.
Gotcha.
So produce the body means go find them, bring them back. If you can't find them within the allotted time provided, then you got to produce a check, which means the bail bond owner now has to write a check for $3,000 out of pocket and pay it to the courthouse. Okay. So that's generally speaking how bond usually works.
Okay.
So then when they have to send you out, they also tack on that bill to the criminal?
Yes. So when they send me out, that my fees and my charges get tacked on to that person's bill that they already owe the bail company.
Wow.
And that's what I tell them too sometimes. I thought, look, the longer I'm out here looking for you, or the longer I'm out here looking for, if I'm talking to a family member or friend, it's costing you. You signed on the dotted line. You said that you would be responsible. So help me help you. The longer I'm out here looking, my fees rack up with the bail bond office, and they have to pay it. They have to pay my travel expenses, lodging expenses, investigative hour expenses, all the hours that I spent working on that case file. I bill them.
Right.
For example, I had one guy. He was the person that bailed out this female. I looked at the case file, and I saw it for what it is. She was basically one of those females that was a prostitute. And he was basically her pimp, but he wouldn't admit it to me. He was like, I was her boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. But and he was trying to dodge my questions. I go, look, I'm not here to judge a man, okay? Regardless of your relationship with her and vice versa, it doesn't matter. The point is, right now, you're on the hook for $10,000. And that's $10,000 on top of my fees. And my fees they're racking up every day that we speak. Every day that I can't find her and put her back into custody, that's costing you. Your tab is growing. I said, so help me find her. I go, you know where she would be. You know how, she would advertise her services. Let's make this happen, man. And then at first he was like, nah, I don't know where she's at. I can't get a hold of her. She won't respond to me. I said, that's fine, but this isn't going to go away. I go, so come on, let's make this happen. And then he was like, okay, well, you know what I could do is I could set you up with a burner phone, and I can kind of like get her set up to like potentially meet a client at a motel or something, and then you go in and do your thing. And I go, well, there's no guarantee she's going to show up. I said, no, that's not going to work. I go, how about I come get you, and then we go find her ourselves? And he thought about that. I go, look, this is your best bet. Another person, if somebody else takes this case file, they might not be as generous with their time and as patient. I go, so let's do this. And I don't know what clicked in his head. He said, sure. Yeah, okay. And I said, great. I go, you're up in San Francisco. I'm going to be driving from our Las Vegas office. I'm going to drive up to our Reno office. I've got to do some case files there. And then from Reno, I'll bump over to San Francisco, and then I'll pick you up, and then we'll go get your girl. And he goes, okay, that's fine. So, you guys, it's just me in the car, okay? And I drive all the way to San Francisco, and I'm picking up this, big black guy, right? And he's a pimp. Uh-huh. And so I have my badge out. I have my firearms holstered. He told me to pick him up at his mom's house, so he gave me the address. I picked him up. I get out of the car. I go knock on his door, and he comes out. He goes, oh, my God, put that badge away. If people see me out here, they're going to think I'm a snitch or something. I'm like, well, that's your problem, not mine. I have my badge out to let everyone know who I am and what I'm doing so that there's no confusion as to why I'm. He goes, okay. So he gets in, I go, are you ready? He goes, yeah, let's go. And so he gets in the car, and I go, what do you know about her? Did you try to reach out to her? He goes, yeah, I had a guy that I know reach out, try and make an appointment with her, and it looks like she's down in Santa Maria, California right now is what it looks like. And I'm like, okay, I guess we got a road trip ahead. So we get in the car, and I go, look, no funny business, okay? I go, if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. We're just going on a road trip, and that's all it has to be. I go, this firearm right here is holstered. But let me let you know, it has one round in the chamber ready to go if I need to use it to defend myself. I said, are we going to have an issue? He goes, nope. I'm like, all right, cool. So let's go. So we're in this car. We're driving. We get down to California. It's been a long day, mind you. And I left Reno like at 4 in the morning. Or no, 6 in the morning. I got San Francisco in the afternoon. It was probably 4 or 5 o'clock before we actually hit the road from San Francisco to look for this female. And we're driving from Northern California, and we're making our way slowly down towards Southern California. And then we get a hit that she put a posting, because they have these sites that they use to post their services. She posted it up that she was in Santa Maria. And he goes, okay, so let's go to Santa Maria. Yeah. I go, is this the same place where your guy kind of made an appointment with her too? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. It's been a long day, you guys, right? I'm in this car with this guy all day, and I'm tired. And I literally, kid you not, as we're coming into Santa Maria, into the town, we're about to exit the freeway, I remember looking up at the sky, and in my head I said, dear Lord God, please just let me find this girl. It's been a long day. I know it's wishful thinking, but it would be nice if I could just see her walking down the street, and then we just pick her up, okay? And as soon as I said that, we exited the freeway. We're at the stoplight getting ready to turn right, and he looks up and he goes, holy shit, there she is, and I'm like, what, wait, what? And he goes, there she is, she's walking right there. And before I could say anything, home dude bolts. He opens the door of the car, and he takes off running down the street after this girl, and I'm like, oh, great. So I gotta wait for the light to turn green. It turns green. I hop into oncoming traffic, and then I see a police car coming up behind me, because now he sees this big black guy running down the street. He sees me trying to like drive after this guy, so naturally he's like, "What's going on?" So he pulls me over, and I get out. I show him my badge. I show him my ID. I show him the case file. I go, "I'm a fugitive recovery agent from Nevada. This is the case file. You know, I'm in pursuit. She actually was just spotted down the street right now." And I said, so my partner took off running after him because I wasn't going to go into details about it. And the officer was very nice. He goes, "Well, you know how it is. When you come into town to play, you got to call dispatch, let us know." I go, I literally just got off the freeway, didn't even get a chance to call you guys yet, and boom, there she was. So he took off. And then, so the officer's like, "All right, I'll make note of it. I'll let dispatch know." And he goes, "Be safe, and if you need anything, give us a call." And I was like, "Have fun." And so I get back in the car, and I finally catch up to him. I go, "Get in the car," and we get in the car. I go, "You just spooked her." And he goes, "Yeah, she's running," and then we saw her. She jumped into a random truck.
Aww.
She jumped in the back bed of a truck, and then they took off. And he goes, "Now what?" I go, "Well, you know, you spooked her. You scared her. She knows you're here, so now we got to backtrack." I go, "Now we got to go back and circle back to where she's staying, and then just wait. It's a waiting game." And so we found out which motel she was at, and we went back, and I parked across the street, turned the lights off and everything. We're sitting there. And then I think about another half an hour or so rolls by, and that truck that we saw her hop into the back of was pulling into that motel.
Oh.
So he goes, "There she is, there she is." I'm like, "Okay, relax." I go, "No sudden moves. Okay, don't be jumping out, going doing anything. You just stay next to me, and you be quiet. You don't move, don't do nothing. No sudden moves." He goes, "Okay." So we go back across the street, and I knock on the door, the office door for the motel, and the owner came out, and I showed him my badge, my case file. I told him why I was there. And I said, "Do you give me permission, give me a key to enter this property?" At first he was hesitant. I go, "Look, it's either you're going to give me permission, or I'm going to do a forceful entry. And if I do a forceful entry and I break your door, then you're going to have a door you're going to have to deal with and you have to fix." And he thought about it, and then he gave me the keys. So I said, "Okay, cool." So I go up to the room, and I wait outside. I'm listening to see what's going on inside, because I didn't want to just open the door. I actually wanted to wait till she was, in the process of doing something or getting ready to do an act, so that I could catch her in the middle of the act, and then just be an easier arrest.
Yeah.
And that was basically what happened. I opened the door, and she was getting ready to get into the act, and then boom, and then the guy, started mouthing off on me. I'm like, "Look, I'm not here for you, so you can put your pants back on and go on your happy way. Or if you want to be difficult, I'm pretty sure I could find some warrants on you, maybe." And as soon as I said that, he goes, "No, I'm out of here. Have a good night." And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, I told her why I was there. I told her, "You're in warrant. You know what it is. Let's do this." And yeah, so then I drove her, put her in the car. And when I transport people on the road, I try to make it as comfortable as I can for them within, reason. So
right.
I transfer her from, because when I arrest people, I handcuff them behind. Their hands are behind them. Obviously, that's going to be uncomfortable in a car ride for any amount of time. So I said, I told her the rules, what I expected out of her. I said, "Now I'm gonna change over your cuffs, and I'm gonna put you in the belly chains and anklets, so it'll be more comfortable for you." So I proceeded to lock her up in belly chains, and then her ankles were locked up. I put her in the car. So now I have her in the car and the guy in the car with me. I have to drive him back up to San Francisco to drop him back off. And then from there, from San Francisco, I had to drive her all the way back to Reno to remand her into the detention center at Reno. You know how long this road trip has been for me? I've been going nonstop since like 6 a.m. that morning. And at 4:30, we were still rolling into San Francisco to drop him off.
Wow.
And then I think I rolled into Reno right when the sun was coming up. And at the whole time, I tried everything. We would crank the music up. I would roll down the windows and let that cold blast come in. I did everything I could to stay awake. Because it's not like I could go to him and go, "Hey, dude, you want to drive for the next half hour?" Like, no.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not an option. So, yeah,
Wow.
I did this all by myself. And, sometimes when I tell people this story, they're like, "You weren't scared? You weren't thinking?" I'm like, if I was, I didn't think of it, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to do my job.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah, interesting Interesting times.
So, I know you're writing a book. Is these stories going to be in the book, or what is your book about?
Yeah, my book is basically, it's going to be a memoir, loosely about me, my experiences as a bounty hunter. Then I'll probably segue into my experiences as martial arts, as a firearms instructor, just basically how I became who I am today, basically. And really, this book, I've met so many people throughout my life, from my 20s on up, saying, you need to write a book, And I'm like, who cares? It's just me, I'm one of so many people out there. But then after I had my daughter, someone said to me, if you don't care about putting your story out there for other people, at least put the story out there for your daughter. And that's when I was like, okay, now I have a real legitimate purpose why I really want to do it.
Yeah.
And then so, I started writing the book for my daughter. And then, now that she's getting older, when she was a baby, I would leave her with my parents and I would, go all around the country to do my job. As she got a little older, I realized I want to be home with her, to be there for all these moments and experiences, schoolwork. So I stepped back from bounty hunting, and then I kind of transitioned into what do I want to do next. And I sat there and I gave it a lot of thought, and then what really triggered it for me was I was cleaning out my office at home. After I left my martial arts company, I left it because the principles and everything that I cherished and I revered as martial arts, I didn't see it being practiced by my senior instructors. The people that I looked up to, the people that were my boss, the people that trained me. I just felt like we weren't aligned. So I made a really big decision to step away from it all and sell my school and all that. And what I did with all my stuff, my gear, my equipment, I took it home, my home office, and I went through a dark period where I just locked my office door, closed it, and then I wouldn't think about it. And then finally one day I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to sort through all this and get rid of what I don't want to keep and whatnot. So I went through it, and as I was going through all these letters I got from all of my students, and it just dawned on me, like, that was why I became a martial arts instructor in the first place, to help all these people achieve their goals and succeed and accomplish things that they never thought they could do, push their minds and their bodies to levels that they never thought possible. And I was just like, I was able to do that as a martial arts instructor for them. And I realized, like, as I get older, I do want to make money, of course, because, money is a necessity for all of us. Mm-hmm. I want to be successful and I want to live comfortably, but I still want to have some sense of purpose. I still want to help people. And I've always been raised with the mentality, the more people I help achieve what they want, in turn will help me achieve what I want. And I think finally when I hit my 40s, I realized I truly got a better understanding of what that meant. So then I started doing some research. So what do I do? And then I came upon life coaching, and it's just, I feel with all my experiences and all my different industries that I've been involved in, and mainly also being a female in a very male-dominated industry, and every industry that I picked was all male-dominated, to be able to go into those industries, being a woman and doing what I did and be able to accomplish what I did in the time that I did do it, I felt like I have something to offer. So someone says, you just gotta go and put it together. So here we are,
Nice. Yeah, because you can't say you've had a boring life. You have definitely got some stories to tell and definitely have experience to back you up to do this kind of thing. So,
yes, I do.
That's amazing. That's awesome. To be able to take what you've learned and all that you have done and be able to help other people. That's a great thing. And I think you seem like a person that's really fit for that kind of thing, to do that. I think.
Well, thanks, Natalie. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Absolutely.
All of the comments underneath your video was, this is a bad chick. The video's too short. We want more. We want more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's your book. I mean, they want more. They want to know more about you.
I agree.
Exactly.
And I've been approached ever since that Vice article came out a few years back. I've been approached all the time by TV producers, script writers, and I've had people. I've even had one gentleman at the time was like, "We're ready to do this. Let's develop something around you and your story. And they even sent me a contract. But I believe everything happens for a reason, and timing is important as well. I don't think it was just meant to happen at that time for one reason or another. And a lot of these other projects, I never personally wanted to get involved because I wanted to be in control of my story still. And some of these projects wouldn't allow me to do that. So a lot of people tell me, all these opportunities, they're not going to come your way anymore. They're going to get fewer and fewer in between. But I've never let that bother me because as a person, I've always lived my life. I am in control of my destiny. I want something, I'm going to make it happen. So that never bothered me that I had so many people approach me and that I said no or for one reason or another decide not to get involved. I mean, the last season of Big Brother on TV that aired this past summer, I was supposed to be on it, but I just didn't feel that was a fit for what I want to do for my brand. Yeah, it would give me the exposure, that would give me a huge exposure right off the bat, but I didn't feel like it aligned with my message and what I want to do. So I didn't do it. But then circling back, the book, I feel like, is where I put all my experiences in that book and everything. And that book, I feel, will be my jumping platform to introduce people to coaching.
Nice. Well, and as far as your life coaching business, if there's somebody that wants to reach out to you, how would they reach out to you? And say, look, my life is a mess. I need some help. And I think Wynn could definitely whip me into shape. And if I don't listen, she's going to kick my butt. So I'm going to listen.
Wes, when you put it like that, that's how a lot of my martial arts students used to be. A lot of my parents would come to me and go, if you don't get your crap in gear, I'm going to tell Miss Wynn about it.
Yeah.
And I had parents would come to me, guess what Michael did in class there? Guess what Johnny did? And then it would become like, all right, well, let me talk to them,
Yeah.
And I even had parents go, they're so different when they're with you, Miss Wynn, because he acts a certain way and he listens and he's disciplined, but then when he's at home, it's totally opposite. And I was like, unfortunately, it needs to be carried over at home. I can't go with you guys and live with you in your home and make sure your kid is always on the, toe on the line. That's like the principles that I teach them and everything. All that has to be reinforced at home.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, right now I'm in the process of getting some social media set up and a website. But if someone really just wants to get a hold of me, I'm the type of person, go directly to the source. I'm the source. They can reach out to me through my email, which is lotusconsultants88@gmail.com. That's common spelling, LOTUSCONSULTANTS88@gmail.com. And I always respond to my emails. I always get back to everybody in a timely manner. So if anybody really wants to reach out to me, that's the quickest and most direct way to get a hold of me.
And this isn't just for people out in Vegas. I mean, you can do it over Zoom and...
I can do it over Zoom. I can do it through Skype. I can do FaceTime. The beauty about our technology and where we are right now as a society is you can literally do anything anywhere with a reliable Wi-Fi connection and like a computer or some sort of smart tablet or smartphone. It's made it so much. Technology has made it so much easier for us to be in touch with one another and to do business with one another and to just anything and everything.
Perfect. Yeah.
This is so cool. I don't know. Do I need a life coach, Natalie? I got twin boys coming any day now, so I might be calling you in 10 years.
Hey,
whip these boys into shape.
Here. Anytime and every time. I'm always here. I'm always up for the challenge. And to me, it's not even about making the money. Yes, money is a big factor, of course. I'm not going to lie to everybody. It ain't about the money. It is. I want to be able to do something successful and be able to provide for my family and be successful at. But at the same time, that's just a secondary, if not a third, reason, down the line. My main reason is meeting people. Being able to meet so many different people from so many walks of life and be able to have some sort of a positive impact on them and them having a positive impact on me. It's not all about me. It's about them, how they impact me and how they help me grow as a person. And that's the real reason why, I do what I do is to create that positive energy and to spread that positive energy and to get people to realize, like, you have whatever it takes inside you, do whatever it is that you want. You just have to consciously make an effort and follow through with it. You know, like, if your mind can conceive it and you truly believe it, you speak it out into existence, put it out there in the universe, and take the necessary steps to make it happen. I guarantee you, there is nothing in this world that you can't accomplish if you truly, truly desire it and you truly, truly want it. And sometimes people say, oh, it's easier said than done. Yeah, it can be easier said than done, but it can be. It's just as simple as opening your mind up to it, accepting it, and let it be. Let it happen. Let it organically do what it needs to do. I'm also a firm believer of, if you don't move to where you need to be in life, the universe will push you will cause that friction for you, will cause that pain and that stress, because you're not going along where you need to be. So now the universe is pushing you along. So what are you going to do about it when it pushes you along? Are you just going to let it push you along and then be a victim of it? Or are you going to turn around and take control of that situation and find the positives in all that situation and make those positives work for you, so you can go out there and you can be in control of yourself and you can go out and do whatever it is that you want to do and whatever it is that you want to accomplish? It's all possible.
Wow.
Hey,
and it's really as simple as changing your mind frame, you know? Yeah. Positive thinking, positive energy, being open to it, being open to receiving it as well as giving it.
Nice.
I agree with you 100%. You know how many guidance counselors told me that I need to find a real job? You can't do magic. I lived in a small little town, you know, small population. D.C., Washington, D.C. and Richmond are 2.5 hours from me in either direction. I mean, that's the biggest cities around me. You're going to struggle. Yeah. You're not going to make it. How are you going to be a magician? And then I meet you, on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and, you know, where are these people now?
And that's the thing. Those skeptics out there, because they don't realize that they might not think of themselves as negative individuals, but they don't realize that's a negative train of thought. That's a negative thinking. And when you have a negative set in, it sets in through your nervous system. It sets into your body. Have you ever worked out and you're sweating, and the minute you say, I can't anymore, all of a sudden it's like that much harder, you can't do it no more? And it's because you already put it into existence that you can. Boom. It's that simple, like that. But if you just turn around and flip it and say, I can do this, I can get through this, you know, and turn your negative to a positive, you've already accomplished the biggest hurdle you would accomplish, is the fact that changing your perspective and your mentality of instead of don't, do. Instead of can, you know?
All right, you're awesome.
And misery loves company. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, sometimes people are skeptics, and it's easier, you know, to feel like you're in the same boat as them versus not. And there's envy out there. There's jealousy out there. There's so many reasons why people think the way they think. And unfortunately, it is the way it is. But we as individuals, we can help change that, one person at a time.
When we are running out of time, sweetie, we will definitely have you back on as soon as you get this book done, or if you want to come back on pre-book,
yay!
We'll have you on anytime. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Give us your email address one more time.
Okay, it is lotusconsultants88@gmail.com.
Perfect.
When you're the best. Stay on the line. We're just going to wrap everything up. Stay on the line. Don't hang up. We're just going to wrap everything up.
Okay.
Man, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
I want to go work out now.
Yay!
All right. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much. Check out our reality show on Jewel TV, Wes Iseli's Magiclife, every Wednesday night. And see you next week. Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled Wesiseli.